is happy. Some is heavy and serious. Some makes you want to dance. Some makes you think. Some is filled with surprise. Some is smooth and easy. Some is fast and complicated. Some is slow and mellow. Jazz is played by big bands and small groups. It has been played on almost every musical instrument. It comes in varieties called Dixieland and swing, bebop and cool, hard bop and fusion. But most jazz has no style designation. We refer to the sounds just by naming the musicians, for instance, Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, or John Coltrane. Jazz is heard in numerous settings. Many bands present it as a serious music in concert halls. Some jazz is played in ballrooms for dancers. There is jazz in background music on the radio. A lot of jazz is offered in nightclubs, where people gather to hear music while they drink and talk with their friends. But what is jazz? Well, it's difficult to define. Jazz can mean different things to different people. How it makes you feel, what it reminds you of, performers have a reputation for jazz, how the music is made, all of these things may factor into how you define jazz. Improv. Jazz is all about improv. Ad-libbing or jamming or creating music right on the spot. By the way, you can find these presentations in our Google Classroom. Improv is all about being original. Jazz is about being original. Sure, you may have a written tune, a little head tune of 12 measures, 24 measures, something to play that's written down, but a good chunk of jazz is all about improv and creating music on the spot. No two improvisations are ever the same. That's the beauty of it. Improv always occurs around a known tune or chord. These could be blues scales. These could be major or minor chords. Knowing your scales, knowing how to play your instrument, these jazz musicians are able to then improv around those scales and chords because they know the notes of those particular keys. For example, in All the Things You Are, if you take a look, we have a key signature here, key of A flat in treble clef. We have specific notes that are played, but above each bar we see chord progressions so that instrumentalists know what chord they can improvise around if they had to. So we have this written music. Some players would play this music as written. Some would simply improvise the tune around the chord structure. Jazz is all about swing. The beginnings of jazz, the roots of jazz, it's all about swing. Swinging is that feeling where you can dance and clap your hands and tap your feet to. It gets people moving. Swing is what makes jazz in the beginning stages at least. There's a steady beat, constant tempos. There's this interesting musical tug of war between players playing notes directly on the beat and players playing notes that are off the beat or accented as syncopation. It's pretty awesome. It's very groovy. Swing is all about groove and getting you moving and feeling that groove. Dizzy Gillespie once said, "Swinging is an opinion, not a fact of music." Swing is not a fact of jazz music. It's a style. Some musicians like it, some don't. By the way, Dizzy Gillespie is one of the more famed jazz trumpet players, and if you'll see in the picture previous, his cheeks are way out here when he plays. Now that's not proper technique, and over time his skin stretched and it wasn't good for him, but that's simply how he played. There are many different styles, and over the course of these 10 weeks we're going to take a look at some of these styles, such as Dixieland, bebop, swing, cool jazz or cool school jazz, hard bop, avant-garde, that very kind of hard to listen to music at times. Some people like it, some people don't. And then fusion, right? Acid jazz. And then what is jazz like now? By the way, we've got a good old Benny Goodman here playing clarinet. Something that I really like to say is never judge a musician by the style of music they play. Sure, I said it, but many different people have said it in different ways. But it rings true, right? You never want to judge a musician by how they play. Oh, they only play swing. Pfft, not my style. Ooh, they're only an avant-garde musician. Wow, I can't even listen to that. Never judge a musician by the style of music they play, because at the beginnings of jazz and right up until now, a lot of jazz musicians are classically trained. You can say, oh, they don't know anything about music. All they're doing is playing notes all around a scale. Sure, they might know the blues scale, but that's all they know. But a lot of those jazz musicians are actually classically trained musicians who know their instrument better than those who built it. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Don't forget, head on to our Google Classroom and answer the discussion question of the week. Adios.